Autofocus, autofocus. Ooh, I gotta aim this up higher. Alright, it's been a while since I've done a video, and I've seen a few about one particular piece of equipment that's new. It's the Canon EOS R, and I'm seeing a lot of negative reviews for it, specifically from just YouTubers in general. And I honestly think that these reviewers are not thinking about who this camera is specifically for, and they're really just thinking about that camera for themselves. So right now I'm making this video because, I'm seeing quite a few fairly misguided videos in my opinion, including from channels that I really like. So Thomas Heaton really doesn't like the EOS R, Art of Photography really doesn't like the EOS R, and I've seen so many bad comparisons. I've seen people try to compare the R to the A7R III, the Nikon Z7 and the Nikon D850, and for me that's, like, it's weird. I'm not offended, but I'm also just really confused. So you'll see me looking, I have my notes on my Surface here. I want to be clear who I think the EOS R is not for, and why these other YouTubers are kind of making misguided videos. I'd say that the EOS R is definitely not for a professional photographer or a professional videographer who already has really high-end gear. So people who already have like the 5D Mark IV, why are you looking at the EOS R? That's definitely not for you. It's a really weird side grade. The sensor resolution's the same. There's only maybe a very slight tweak in the dynamic range and response. The movie mode's a little bit better, but like otherwise it's more or less the same camera that you got like 2 years ago. If you're a videographer looking for a new body, you should also not be looking at the EOS R. To me, that doesn't make any sense. You can grab the C100 or the C100 Mark II. Both of those will have like really good 1080p video. I know it's not full frame, but at the same time, those are dedicated video cameras. If you really want to shell out more money and you want like high-end 4K video, which is apparently what people expected out of the EOS R, just spend some more and get the C200. If you're a videographer looking for an actual video camera, you should be looking at those anyway, not the R. Let's see. Who else the R is not for? Well, people who can afford to buy the newest gear every year. If that's you, props to you. But the R is definitely not your camera then, right? So like I said before, this is almost the exact same specs as the 5D4. So yeah, definitely not for you. And lastly, the R is definitely not for YouTubers who they use the equipment just long enough for review and then trade it in or return it or something like that. So if you're constantly being exposed to the newest equipment like every couple months, the R is definitely not going to be exciting for you. And the other thing is, if you're only using it for a couple weeks at a time for review, you won't have enough time to kind of appreciate the subtle parts of each individual camera. So to me, it seems like the EOS R is actually targeted for Canon photographers who've been kind of doing what they're supposed to do with photography gear, which is, you know, you can get a cheaper body, and then as you get more practice and you get better at photography, you're adding your lenses to your collection. So if say you got like the T6 or T6i and you started with the kit lens, and then over time you started getting some L lenses, like maybe the 16-35, maybe the 70-200 2.8, and then now you want a full frame body. So personally, I think the R is actually really good for you, because if you want to stay with Canon, all of a sudden your options open up, right? So maybe you were using a T6 or T6i, and you were thinking of getting the 60 Mark II because you wanted to get full frame and it was the cheapest Canon full frame. Well, suddenly for some more money, you can actually get, not like a little bit more money, you can get the new mirrorless version, use all of your existing lenses with an adapter, and you get like the 5D specs, but cheaper than the 5D. And let's say you were looking to get a 5D and maybe you didn't really need the weather sealing. All of a sudden you just got a huge price break for almost the same camera. And other people who were, this might be a good upgrade for, so let's say you're a hobbyist and you're trying to replace a well-worn, well-loved, say, Rebel, or even a 5D Mark II, which is the last full-frame Canon that I bought. I honestly think the EOS R is actually really enticing. And the reason why I say all of this is because I actually started with Canon. So my first camera I got in 2006, and it was like a combined birthday Christmas present. I got the 20D. I got it with the 17-85mm kit lens, and it was fine. I really liked that camera. I had a hard drive failure, so I'm missing some of my favorite pictures from it, but otherwise it was really good. I started adding new lenses to it, so I bought that Zeiss 50mm 1.4 planar. I actually had to get it for a Nikon mount and then put on an adapter, but it was all manual, so it was totally fine. And then I got the 70-200 2.8, the first version with IS. That was a nice lens, and I used all of that for almost 3 years until I realized, you know what, I want to do more low light photography. A lot of the stuff I was doing was, it was in college, so I was taking pictures of friends' events, or just candid pictures like inside of our dorms or inside of our apartments. And the 5D Mark II was about to come out. I wanted to try doing some video, but really I just wanted a better camera for indoors. So I ended up ordering the 5D Mark II. I was the second wave of truck or boat or airship or whatever they used to ship all them over. And I got it from Best Buy in Syracuse. And it was, I really loved that lens. To go with it, I ended up buying the 24-70 2.8 because I wanted something wide. And so my kit was the 24-70 2.8, the Zeiss 50, the 70-200 2.8, and then I added a couple other lenses, like I got a fisheye, but I don't have that anymore. And then later on in about 2009, late 2009, I got what is one of my favorite lenses, which is the Canon 100mm macro IS-L. So since then, I actually sold off the 24-70 2.8, and I also sold the 70-200 2.8. You may be wondering why. Well, honestly, I wasn't using those lenses as much. I kind of preferred primes, and I had actually given the EOS M a try, and I really liked how small that system was. So it was like I could use like two primes, two bodies in the same bag where my 5D and the 24-70 were. And then the 2.8 IS I liked, but it was very heavy and it wasn't particularly sharp at 2.8. So what I ended up doing was I just sold it and then bought the 70-200 F4 IS, which I still like. I may actually upgrade to the new version because the coatings are supposed to be better. But otherwise, I did sell the Zeiss 50 because it ended up breaking, and then I sold it because I preferred 35mm. But now I actually switched. So for very serious work, I tend to use my Pentax 645Z, and then for street and candid work, I use my EOS Ms. So I still love that 5D Mark II. Canon full frame combined with that 100mm macro is one of my favorite things. I pretty much have it glued on there whenever I want to take it out. and ready to go. So if my 5D Mark II stopped working today, and I needed a full frame to replace it, I would, for me, the EOS R is actually a very good replacement for the 5D Mark II. So it has enough features that I really like. It incorporates a bunch of things from the mirrorless line that I've kind of gotten addicted to. And it's cheaper than the 5D Mark IV. So I don't really need some of the stuff on the 5D Mark IV, like the advanced weather sealing, as much as I like having weather sealing. The R, I think, would be fine. Yeah, for how I use my 5D Mark II right now, the R with the adapter and the 100 macro would be just perfect. I have made some comparisons between the EOS R and the 6D Mark II and the 5D Mark IV. Those are kind of fair comparisons because you're looking from Canon to Canon. And I think that for a lot of people, the R is actually probably a good fit between those three. If I had to compare against other systems, there are the A7 III, which is a fair comparison because they're relatively similar in price point. This A7 III is a little bit cheaper, but the R definitely doesn't compare against the A7R III. That's not fair. Other things the R can compete against, I'd say it's similar enough to the Nikon D610, the Nikon D750, and the Nikon Z6, which is brand new. I think if you actually break down the features of everything in those tables, which I'll show here, the R doesn't really look that bad, to be honest with you. So the R is more expensive than the A7 III. It does have more megapixels, only 6. It is more expensive than the Nikon D610 and the Nikon D750. But honestly, like, if you're looking at the 610, I don't know why you're looking at the 610. That camera is over 5 years old. The Nikon D750 is above 4 years old. So the technology is almost completely different. Like, neither of these will do 4K. So if you want to try doing 4K, even cropped in 4K is better than having no 4K. And the only, I think, other fair comparison, that Nikon Z6, good luck finding one. It is a good comparison. That camera, frankly, is amazing. But if you're actually a Canon user with a lot of Canon lenses, I would actually still stay with the EOS R over the A7 III and the Z6. Like, I understand that the features of both the A7 III and the Z6 are better. Those two cameras are actually smaller than the EOS R, but if you just want to get pictures, it's the least fussy to just get the R with the adapter. You wouldn't have to sell any to afford. You wouldn't have to sell any to buy new ones, and you don't have to buy a freaking XQD card. Those are really expensive. So if for some reason you want to go from Canon to the Z6, you have almost no lenses. So you could buy the older Nikon glass and get the adapter, but I don't know why I honestly don't know why you would do that. You'd lose a lot of money just getting the equivalent lenses and swapping over. If you wanted to get the A7 III with the Metabones adapter, that's actually really expensive. If you got I have a little separate comparison that I'll show here. If you got the EOS R with the kit lens, that's $3,400. If you got it with the regular adapter, that adds another $100, so you're looking at $3,500. If you got the A7 III with the 24-105, which is supposed to be a pretty decent lens, that comes in at $3,300. So it's actually not that much cheaper than getting the EOS R with the kit lens. I think the surprising thing is that if you wanted to still use your autofocus lenses on the A7 III, you would have to get the Metabones adapter. And the Metabones adapter, the current one, is $400. And all of the long-term reviews I've seen for the Metabones adapter, it's not really that good. You lose sharpness at the wide. There are still some weird oddities with the autofocus mechanism. And most of the long-term reviews say even the best Metabones adapter is really just a stopgap until you switch over until native, because you end up losing a bunch of speed, and it's just not as good as everyone claims it actually is. But if you went to get that Metabones adapter, that adds another $400. So all of a sudden you're spending $3,700 for like a complete system. The Z6 with that kit lens, which is supposed to be a really, really good kit lens, that comes in at $2,600, which is, I think, honestly, that's probably the best deal. But there's no adapter to use Canon lenses, I'm fairly certain. And long term, we don't know how long it's going to take to switch. If you have Canon lenses, you might want to down the line go to the R system, but since those aren't out yet, you could just conceivably just use all of your old lenses with the adapter, and that's actually probably the cheapest upgrade path if you're trying to go native to native. But yeah, so in my opinion, I'd say if you had like a few nice Canon mount lenses that you love and you're looking at the EOS R but seeing all the negative press, I wouldn't worry about it. I think it's a fine enough camera if you're in the target market for it, which actually really isn't that small. Yeah, like all of this not buying XYZ camera because it doesn't look good on paper compared to the other ones. To me, it just seems really kind of arrogant. It's like you're not doing real photography unless you get like the highest end camera that's not true. Just get whatever works for you and go take pictures. Having said all that, if you're completely new to a camera and you want to start off with a brand new full frame, or if all you have is the entry level kit lens and kit camera, and you don't really have a real attachment to a personal lens collection, then go ahead and switch. Go get Sony, go get Nikon. That Z6 especially, that camera looks awesome, and everyone right now really loves it. Minus the whole XQD card thing. But yeah, so kind of a ranty video. I don't want to do too many of these, to be honest with you. It's not all that fun. But yeah, I just want to take pictures. Alright, so if you have any comments, let me know. Hate it, like it, you know the deal. Hopefully I will see y'all soon, and that's it for now. Bye. For me, the R actually has enough features that are